Alright, let's talk about French accents. Welcome to this explainer where we are going to absolutely demystify them. If you've ever looked at a page of French text and just felt completely overwhelmed by all those little dashes and hats hovering over the letters, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're going to show you that these are definitely not just decorative marks to make the words look fancy. They're actually essential, highly logical grammatical tools that will completely transform how you read and speak.
A huge welcome to the French Easy et Facile community. We really share the same philosophy here, making the mastery of the French language as straightforward, accessible, and honestly as enjoyable as possible. No overly complicated jargon today, just the clear concepts you need to succeed.
Before we dive into the nitty-gritty rules, I want you to think of accents as the traffic signals of reading in French. Just like a stop sign or a turn arrow guides a driver, these little marks guide your pronunciation. They tell you exactly which way the meaning of a sentence is going. And you know, once you learn how to read the signs, navigating the language becomes a beautifully smooth ride.
So, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover why accents matter. Then, the grave accent and homophones. After that, the circumflex accent. Then we'll tackle pronouncing the tricky letter E, and finally, wrap up with the Tréma.
Okay, Section 1. Why accents matter, guiding meaning and sound.
At their very core, these marks have two main jobs. They dictate the meaning of a word, and they guide your pronunciation. Without them, reading French would literally be a guessing game. Seriously, you wouldn't know if someone was talking about a brick wall or a piece of fruit. So taking a few minutes to learn them right now really empowers you to read, write, and speak with absolute confidence.
Moving right along to Section 2, the grave accent and distinguishing homophones. So, the grave accent. You'll only ever spot this one on the vowels A, E, and U. And one of its absolutely crucial jobs, especially when placed on the letters A and U, is to help us distinguish homophones. Now, as a quick refresher, homophones are words that sound exactly the same when spoken out loud, but they mean entirely different things in writing.
Check this out. Notice how the grave accent completely flips the grammatical function of the letter A. In the phrase il a raison, that a without an accent is just the verb to have, conjugated for he. He has reason, or he is right. But in une machine à laver, throwing that little accent on there transforms the a into a preposition meaning to or for. It literally becomes a machine for washing. Same exact sound, but a completely different grammatical universe.
And this brilliantly illustrates another incredibly common pair. La maison means the house, right? Where the unaccented la is just your standard definite article, the. But by adding that grave accent, j'habite là suddenly means I live there, referring to a specific physical location.
It's the exact same deal with the letter U. A single grave mark is literally the only thing separating a choice from a location. Unaccented O simply means or, like, would you like coffee or tea? But accented U with the grave mark means where. Where's the cafe? It's a tiny little visual cue, but man, it makes a massive difference in comprehension.
All right, let's jump into Section 3, the circumflex accent and its hidden meanings.
The circumflex is affectionately known by many as the little hat. Now, unlike the grave accent, this hat can pop up on all 5 standard vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. You'll see it a lot in certain verb conjugations. But just like we saw with the grave accent, it is totally crucial for telling words apart that would otherwise be identical twins.
Listen to how identical these two phrases sound when spoken out loud.
Un mur, il est mûr.
If you're just reading them quickly, you might get super confused. But adding that circumflex magically transforms a solid brick structure, a wall, into a delicious piece of ripe fruit. Or it describes someone who is very mature.
Here's another fantastic example. Sur la table, meaning on the table, versus il est sûr de lui, meaning he is confident or sure of himself. The crucial point here is that you absolutely must look for the accent to know if someone is talking about physical placement on top of a table or a state of being completely confident.
So, having solved the problem of those tricky homophones, we now face what a lot of people consider the ultimate French challenge, pronouncing the letter E correctly. I mean, it can make so many different sounds.
Which brings us to Section 4, pronouncing the letter E.
First up is the acute accent. This one points up and to the right, almost like a forward slash. You will exclusively see this accent on the letter E. If you see it, it indicates a closed E sound. This just means your mouth should be slightly closed, your lips stretched a bit, making a sharp, crisp sound like A. Think of the word été, which means summer. Été. It's a very bright, closed sound. Conversely, if you see the grave accent pointing down to the right or the little circumflex hat sitting on top of the E, they're giving you a totally different set of instructions. They indicate an open E sound. For this one, your mouth actually opens wider and the sound relaxes into more of an eh sound, sort of like in the English word pet or set. Let's actually look at these in action. Take achète, which means he buys. You can really hear the jaw drop slightly on that middle syllable. Achète. Or think about being in Paris and ordering a delicious pancake. You don't ask for a crepe with a closed mouth, right? You ask for une crêpe with a nice wide open E sound.
All right, let's bring it home with Section 5, the Tréma, and separating sounds.
The tréma is those two little side-by-side dots placed over an E, I, or U. Now, normally in French, when two vowels sit right next to each other, they merge to create a brand new sound. But I want you to think of the tréma as a linguistic brick wall. When you see those two dots, it forces you to pause and pronounce the two vowels next to each other as two distinct, individual syllables.
Let's see this linguistic wall in action. Without the tréma on the I, the French word for corn, maïs, would just merge into May, which honestly just sounds like the French word for butt, or the English month of May. The tréma forces us to say maïs. Similarly, Noël would completely lose its distinct two-beat rhythm without those dots over the E. And in une situation ambiguë, it ensures we pronounce that final U and E distinctly, rather than just swallowing them at the end of the word.
So look, whether you're sitting at a bistro carefully reading a menu to order ratatouille, or you're at a desk conjugating verbs for a class, these accents really are your best friends. They are absolutely the keys to unlocking the true depth, meaning, and beautiful sounds of the French language.
I really encourage you to keep these rules in the back of your mind the next time you look at a French text. Don't just gloss over the little hats and dashes anymore. Ask yourself, how much more meaning can you extract now that you finally know the code? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and happy learning!
Follow for easy French only on French Easy et Facile.